everyone, welcome back to our session. In this video, we are going to review some parts about class and objects as well as constructor, and we will explore more detail about using these keywords. Last but not least, we will introduce the one of the main feature in object-oriented programming. This is called inheritance, which allows us to reuse our code. So now let's get started. Recall to our previous video, we learned about how we create class as well as create object. Mainly, class is a type of something that we create. Basically, it consists of data, methods, and constructor. Data representing your variable that you want to store some information. Method is action that we perform on the data. And for the constructor, we use them to initialization for the data. Example, you set certain value when you create an object, you pass some data, some value to the data. This is called constructor. By default, it has ones. You can also create more. We have 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. These are overloading constructors that you can create based on the different parameter types or number of parameters. So we recall a little bit. In this example, we create a class employee. We have three data: ID, name, and salary. They are integer, string, and float respectively. And we have two actually functions: insert and display data. So in this class, we don't create our own constructor, but by default it has ones, so that we can create our object later. So you can see in this class test employee, at line 6 and 7 we create two employees by calling to the default constructor. Basically, the constructor has the same name to the class name. And then sometime later we call to the function insert and display data. This is the result that we get. The name for the first employee is data, and the second employee is stock. And we can also create an array of objects by using this syntax employee list 1, and then you can use the new keyword to specify how many of number of objects. You can also use the second way at line 18 here. This is to create an array of objects for employee. Just to remark, we have the class diagram to represent our class. The goal is to represent our information, our code. You can apply into programming later. So we have three portions. The first one is the class name, for example, circle. In the second box here is representing the data, which are variables in this class. For example, this is radius. And we have functions and the constructor located in the third box here. So the whole table here is called class diagram, and it consists of class name, variable, constructor, and methods. So we have two constructors so-called here. Basically, the constructor has the same name to the class name, and it has no return type. Just to remind, we have the symbol minus and plus. Minus mean they are private. Plus mean they are public. So in this case, radius is set to be private variable. And here are some more examples about the class diagram for representing the class account. We have three private variables: ID, name, and balance. And we have two constructors. The first one takes two parameters, while the second one takes three parameters. So just to remark here, once you create your own constructor, there is no more default constructor where there is empty parameter, right? But you can also create one inside this as a constructor that has no parameter. Okay? So in this case, we have only two constructors. And we have the function get ID, get name, so on and so forth. Those are functions performed on this data and account class. And here, as you can see on the right, there are some information. This is a description add on into the function. For example, the credit functions. It is used to add the summation for the amount of balance As you can see, we pass the parameter amount. So it means that inside this function, we should do something that taken into account for the amount you get summation altogether, and the return type is integer. So it means that after the summation, we should return the value, okay? Whether the bits, so on and so forth. This is the function that perform on this class. And we have the class diagram for representing time. We have three variables: hour, minutes, and second. They are all private. So as you can see in here, this is for the input validation, that you can adjust something in between, because the hour it could not reach. We should set it in a certain range, as well as the minutes and second. And we have one constructor for this class time, which takes three parameters: hour, minutes, and second. So it depends on your needs. You can create more constructors as you like. They are overloading constructors. Make sure that you have the name of the constructor here must be the same to the class name, and there has no return type, and you can provide parameter, no parameter at all, or there are some parameters inside. We have get method and set method here. These are representing as getter and setter method. As the variable are declared as private, we try to make this variable can be accessed later only via the public function. So get function here is to retrieve the data here, as you can define in this class, just a return keyword, right? So we have the set method, so on and so forth. So that's a quick review on the class constructor, as well as how we represent our class into the class diagram. So it helps easy in exploring your code. If you have many class inside your project, it's better to represent that as the class diagram and make connection line, whether they are dependent on each other. So next we come to the second topic. Is about this keyword. What is this keyword used for? This is a reference keyword. This is to solve the conflict between variable and parameter. For example, as you can see, we have the class student, and one constructor takes one parameter, which is the age. So in case you don't use this keyword, you may say age equal age. So this is a conflict variable. It does not know, the compiler does not know what value should be assigned to which variable. If you write in Eclipse, it will say something there is no effect, because it's the same variable. So to solve this, we use this.age, referring to this class have the variable age, okay, I get the age, equal age, which is given from the parameter. Okay. We can also use this keyword to pass the object as parameter to another method. In Java, it is used as a reference to objects of the class. We can also work with the method constructor. We'll see more in the next following slide. For example, we refer the current class as a variable, as well as to invoke the current class constructor. As you can see here, this keyword is used in this constructor test in A in B, which take two parameters. So we use this.a equal A, this.b equal B. This is we refer to our current class variable. Okay. This class has the variable A, right? So we equal to A pass from the parameter. We can also invoke the constructor. As you can see in the default constructor here, test something, we override the default constructor. We call this 1020. That means that we are trying to activate the constructor that takes two parameters, which is this one, right? So from this, as you write main, when you create an object by calling this constructor, it will activate the constructor that takes two parameters as well. So this here referring to this class. If you pass variable dot something, if you want to activate constructor, yes, we put the parenthesis and parameter right away next to this keyword. However, if you have some method inside this class, you can also this dot method name. Okay. We can also use this keyword to invoke the current class method. For example, as I mentioned in the previous slide, you can say this dot show, which call to this function, okay, which is located inside this test. Okay. It's also fine. You say so, because in some compiler or some programming language, the function, it must be created before it is called. Okay? So, but code are run from top to bottom. If it is not smart enough, it may not know where the show is, right? So this is very important that you can activate the function inside this class. In the previous example that we have seen, we have create three private variables. For example, we can create, in this case we have two constructor. The first one take 3 parameter, while the second one take only 1 parameter, which is the myDate object itself. We can also pass the object to the constructor. And we have one method here. Don't be confused with the third here. It is not a constructor, although it has myDate here. This is a return type. Create new date here. It does not the constructor because it has the name, right? Return type as well. So in this case, what is a constructor? Just to recall, constructor is a special kind that when we create an object, the constructor is auto-activated. We can set some value to our class variable through the constructor. That's why we need to use constructor, that you need to set insert function later after you create an object. While creating an object, you can pass the value directly. And how we can create constructor is very simple. Make the name of the constructor the same to the class name, and there has no return type, and you can provide parameter as you like. No parameter 1, parameter 2 or 3, and so forth. They are overloading. Same name. So in this example, how many constructors do we have, and what are they? Yes, as you can see here, the student here, which is the class name. So we have two constructors. The first one, there's no parameter and we don't do anything. The second one take 2 parameters, integer I and string I here. You provide some number. And we have two functions, display data and display data 2. So I think that is a quick overview on how we use a constructor as an object as well as this keyword.